Hi folks, Will from MinIO here, and in this video I'm going to step you through a demonstration of building a custom event handler webhook using Python and Flask. So, very simple to do. What we're going to take a look at here first is a very simple service that we have. So if I do a more on the service py that we have here, very simple to do. Okay, so I've imported Flask. I have my payload, I'm printing my payload, I'm printing the object, all that other fun stuff here. This is going to be my service. So what we need to do is we need to edit this. We're going to add some details to this. So vi service.py. Okay. And here on line 3, I need to add an import. Now the import that I'm going to do is from MinIO, import MinIO with a capital M. Okay. Very simple here. So from MinIO, import MinIO. That imports the object that I'm going to be using to work with all of the details that are coming back to me. So, very simple, I need to now create a client. And the client is going to have this constructor that takes the endpoint that I'm working with, as well as an access key and a secret key. Now, my access key and my secret key, I'm using the default MinIO admin. You should not do that in production. You should set up a different user with some limited access for this particular client, but the code is going to look like this. Client, MinIO 1 API, instructor HC1, learn.min.io, that's my endpoint. Notice that I'm talking to the API port here, not the console port. Make sure you're talking to the API port. There's my access key, there's my secret key, and I am set. That is my client connection. Now I can use this client connection repeatedly however I want to here in my main method. So I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to get the object that was referenced in the event, and I'm going to do a stat on it so that I get some details about it. So let me go ahead and copy this because it gets a little long. I'll walk you through it as soon as I have it in here. But this is what the event is going to look like when I'm doing the stat object. There's two pieces to this. And let me go ahead and I will do a line break so you can see this a little better. So the first one, the stat object, takes two things. It takes a bucket name and it takes an object name. So the bucket name is coming out of the payload. Now remember, my payload is JSON. And because my payload is JSON, I can access it here in my actual Python code using the payload itself, and then I go down, I drill down through the different layers. So I'm taking the 0th record from the record array, I'm drilling into the S3 section, into the bucket section, and I grab the name. Similarly, I'm drilling into the S3 section to the object section and grabbing the key. I'll show you these in the payload when they come out because I'm going to keep printing the payload for you. But this is going to give me the stats on this object. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to print out some of those stats. Not all the stats, but some of the stats. So the way I'm going to do this is with a print, and I'm going to print last modified 1 type 2. So I'm going to get the content type. I'm going to get the last modified time. So all of this is going to be pulled in from a format of the stats. I'm going to grab the object name. I'm going to grab the last modified is going to be the first item there. And then the content type is going to be the second type. Now, object name, content type, you're going to see those. Those are actually going to be in the payload. But the last modified status of this object will not be in the payload. And then this return JSONify payload, this is just something I need to do because I'm responding to an SQS. And this is a very simple example. This imports MinIO, it creates the client, it pulls the stats of the object based on the payload, and then it prints out some information about the object. Now, I might want to do a number of other things. I may want to, from this point, do a tag, right? I could do a tag on the object. I could do a set object with some tags or something along those lines. There's tons of different things I can do. Take a look at our documentation. We have the link to the documentation here in the description of the video. But this is just a very simple one that I can show you something on the command line when it runs. So let me go ahead and save this, and we'll clear it out. We're going to do a Python 3, and we will run service.py. Okay. So this is running our service now. Our service is running on port 7203. Don't use this in production. This is all development here. We need to do some other things to get this going. But this is just a very simple example. So with this simple example, let's go ahead and pop over to our event window. And we're going to set this up so we can have some events. Now, we have the listener, and it's running, but nobody knows where it is. So we need to register this with our MinIO service. And the way we do that is with MinIO admin config. So what I've got here is I've got this MinIO admin config set. I'm setting a new config on MinIO 1. I am setting up a notify webhook. So this is a webhook event destination that I'm setting up. And then I give it a unique name. In this case, I'm just calling it service. Okay. But I could call this whatever I want. I could call it Bob for all I care. But I need to give it a unique name in the system. Next, I need to give it an endpoint. It's going to be an HTTPS endpoint here on Flask Instructor HC1. That is the service that I'm running. I know that if you looked at my code, it said 7203. I'm doing a little port forwarding so I can use HTTPS here, but I'm port forwarding it to 443. And then I set up this queue limit. 0, it means there's no limit to the queue. I can take as many events. I don't need to sit on anything. So, very simple to do. Now, when you do add a admin config like this, you always have to restart your service. So MC admin service restart MinIO 1, and we'll just give that a second to restart. With this, I now have a system-wide event destination available to me. I am not going to have any events happen yet. So if I do an MC MB MinIO 1 events, if I create an event, and even if I now say, okay, I'm going to upload something, if I do an MC CP file.json, and we'll send that up to MinIO 1 events, right? I've registered the service and I've pushed this up there and, I should see something, right? Well, no, because I haven't done the event notification yet. I still need to have the bucket send out these event notifications. I have to set up this subscription. So I've created the bucket. Now what I want to do is I want to add the event. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my service here, MC event add. And I'm adding it to MinIO 1 events. I'm going to take off this event put. And I'm going to just have it do anything. It's gonna read any event that comes along. So I do this MC event add MinIO 1 events. I give it the ARN for the service. Okay, and there we go, successfully added. If I do an MC event list, there we go. It's going to look at created, removed, accessed. I need to explicitly add in the ILM. I need to explicitly add in the replication, or if I want to even do a scanner, I'd have to explicitly add that. But this gives me created, removed, accessed very easily. Okay, so let's go ahead now and do that MC CP up to MinIO. Now, oh, look at that. We have got a ton of events going on here. Okay, let me do a Control C. What are we getting here? Well, we got a whole bunch of object accessed heads, okay? Because we're putting up this file JSON. So we've got a ton of object access heads going on here. I don't want to see all of these, right? So this is not exactly ideal. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to limit this, okay? So let's redo that command. Let's put the event put back on the end, okay? And if we now do the MCLS, now we've got two, okay? One for just created and one for create object, removed object accessed. So how would we get around this? Well, we need to delete the event. And in this case, I'm going to have to do a force on the delete. MC event RM MinIO 1 events. Let me show you this. I have to do the force flag to remove all the buckets. I don't have unique names on these, unfortunately. So what I need to do is I need to do the force. I'm going to kill everything. And if I do the list now, no events. So let's go back and put this one on. There we go. Okay. Let's fire up our service again. This time maybe we won't flood it. Okay. And let's do that MC CP. There we go. And now we get this one event. Much cleaner. So this is a good reason why you want to put some kind of filter on there. Either through how you're filtering what MinIO is sending, or filter it in your application somehow, right? So I could have looked for event names, and anything that was not a put, I would throw out. I don't suggest doing that too often, though. Just be very clear about what events you want to see coming down. Okay, just be very clear on that. Try not to send more events than you're going to deal with. If I'm going to send an event and then throw it away, why send the event in the first place? Spend the time, filter the events that you actually want to see. But here we go. we've got this object created put. It's file.json. Recall, in my code, I said go to records. There's records. This is going to be an array. The array starts and begins there and there. Right here is the beginning of the array. Here is the end of the array. So it's actually each individual item in the records is pretty long. Okay, but there's only one record in this whole thing, and that's our 0th record. And in the 0th record, I'm drilling down to S3, which is, it's hidden right here at the end of the edge of the screen. So here is the S3 portion. From there, I went into the bucket portion, and I got the name events. Also, I did S3 object key file JSON. That allows me to have very flexible code. I don't have to very specifically look on a particular bucket. I can use the code to figure out what bucket I'm looking at. That makes the code very flexible. I can use several different buckets. I can assign several different buckets to send events to this destination. So I grabbed the events, I grabbed the file JSON, and I pulled down the stats. That's this line here. File JSON modified. Okay. Now, notice I have a modification time, 1539. I have an event time, also 1539:58. Okay, so the event time, the modification time in this case are identical. That might not always be the case. However, now I've got this type application JSON. Now I actually also have that here. Content type is right there. I also have metadata, some other things. Now keep in mind, if I was doing, for instance, a bucket event or something along those lines that didn't have any actual object names in them, I would have to go out and do a list objects, figure out what objects I had, figure out what was in there. Okay, but this allows me to pull down additional information about the object while I'm working with it. And that is a very simple Flask-based webhook that we have registered with MinIO and then set up an event notification on a bucket. I hope you've enjoyed this little demonstration. If you'd like to reach out with us, you can use any of the methods that you see here on the screen. If you'd like to chat with us interactively, you can chat with us on slack.min.io, or you can also just leave a comment here on the video. Thanks, and we'll see you for the next one.